Hi Leo, welcome to your June 2018 love reading. It's Rena here. It's hard for me to see, so hopefully it's not so hard for you guys. I've been saying that, and this is mostly for people who've never seen one of my videos. Two came out, so I'm going to put them right there. That it just comes out a lot of times that relationships are connected to these types of love readings, and I don't do couples readings specifically or singles readings specifically. I have in the past, and I found that it's best just to keep it open, but usually there's some connection with the past, even if it's that the person right now is single. They may be dealing with the remnants of a former relationship. They may be pining away for somebody that they were formerly with, and you know, something like that. By the way, I just wanted to let you know that the last card that I picked was the Five of Swords, and I always pick an additional card when I get the Five of Swords, or if I get the Ten of Swords. There are certain cards, it's not because, oh, this is a negative card and I want to end on a good note. It's because the card doesn't imply resolution, so it kind of almost opens up a whole new can of worms, and I'd rather just pick an additional card than to try to end on that note, so that's why I did it. It's funny that I got a 5 for the ending because the first card I picked was a 5. This is the Heart of the Matter card, and I got the 5 of Wands. You are fire, Leo, so this is your element. This is you and your element. But you know what? This is a problem. And I'm a Sagittarian, so I'm also fire sign. Aries is the other fire sign. May be involved with another fire sign. But this is the problem with fire, is that, well, we overheat, but it can get heated. You know, even in the best of relationships, there can be a lot of heated words or two fiery temperaments, especially if you're dealing with two fire signs. And if you're the only fire sign in the relationship, you might express things in a way that your partner takes offense to because they're not the same type of temperament. And that can be just like a simple misunderstanding. But it doesn't really matter because it creates drama. So I just wanted to mention that. It's really not about that. I see with the Five of Wands that there could be some, you know, clashing between you and another person. It could be your egos clashing and you're just not getting along, you know. And maybe you did it one time, and yet now it's just like bad news. A lot of times, Leo, I would say in that particular scenario that you may have been involved in a relationship that was primarily sexual. And so I notice that those types of relationships tend to have a shorter shelf life because they're not, you know, multidimensional. They're based on that, and they tend to have a lot of contention, which is what that Five of Wands can represent in the relationship, where there's a lot of like animosity outside of the bedroom, you know, and just not really pleasant stuff happening. And in one regard, you could say that this is because the people are using one another almost like, you know, objects. They're not seeing them as complete beings because they're not interested in them as complete beings. They're interested in them just in the physical side of things, and that creates kind of like objectification, if you will, where you're just wow, this person's really hot, you know, but it's not, wow, this person has a really fine mind. They have a very compassionate nature. There's just that kind of a flat, one-dimensional thing, and that creates, and so it could be that that you and that person are basically incompatible, is what I'm getting at. If you're single, you may feel like you are kind of having to fight for somebody's affection. In other words, especially if you've just met somebody and they don't want to stop dating, they don't want to be exclusive with anyone, you may feel like you have to prove yourself to get any traction with that person. What is crossing you is represented by the Death card. When I say crossing, I mean the challenge right now. And the Death card can mean a bunch of things. It can mean that you are getting over the ending of another relationship, and that's preventing you from, if you're single, from moving on and even wanting to compete. I mean, I don't like the idea of competing. If someone is like, well, I'm just going to play the field, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because I would want somebody who is really like taken with me, who really is like, wow, this is, I've met a lot of people in my life, but this feels different. And I don't think that that's egotistical of me to feel that way. I have, a partner, but I'm just saying that if I were in that position, that's how I would personally feel. And so the Five of Wands for single people is that feeling of, duking it out. I'm just talking about in a metaphorical sense of trying to be, the person that, the most desirable person. And the Death card could be that maybe you really are trying to fight for something that it doesn't exist. Maybe you've met this person, been attracted to this person, but on their end, they've decided that they're not really, that you guys can't be more than just friends or friends with benefits, and you're still thinking you have a chance of having a relationship with this person. So it could be that you're having some kind of an affair, but you think you still have a shot at a relationship, and that person kind of like, I don't think so. And it could be something that kind of like clashed initially, and that other person was a little bit like, nah, I don't think so. But it's okay for now. It's okay for fun. So obviously this is not going to be for every person who's out there. For other people who are, the Death card could be like a physical death that happened. Maybe you are a widow or widower, and that doesn't imply that you are, a senior citizen either. Somebody can have lost a partner when they were quite young. And obviously it doesn't have to be death either. It could be just a relationship or a divorce, a relationship that ended, a divorce or a marriage ending that you haven't gotten over. And yet you're jumping back in the fray, in some cases prematurely. In other cases, you may have gotten divorced years ago and you still haven't gotten over it. Especially since you're a fixed sign, you may have a harder time to just move on to the next thing. And that could also be the Death card could be a Scorpio person who is giving you trouble. And the heart of the matter is the Queen of Pentacles, and so this can be, or this is the foundation card, I should say. This is kind of the basis, and this could be why all of this happened in the first place. And again, this could involve someone else who came into the picture. The Five of Wands is competing with others sometimes. it can be a situation where if you're a woman and you got pregnant and the other person decided, oh wow, I'm not interested anymore. And so you are trying to maybe fight for that recognition and not getting it. Yeah, I mean, the Five of Wands can also be just a conflict of any kind with this person. So it could be that if Queens can represent motherhood. So, and I actually got another card that's a queen. So if you got pregnant accidentally and the other person is unwilling to step up to the plate, then there may be a little bit of conflict. The Queen of Pentacles can even be like a situation where you want to be a stay-at-home mother and your partner is like wanting you to work. I mean, there are times, I mean, I just, this is not male bashing, by the way, because I can kind of understand the logic of it, believe it or not, when somebody is like, no, I won't, I don't get to stay home with the child. Why should you get to? That kind of a mentality. I understand that because I think that the man should be able to stay home with the child. So sometimes the other person wants you to have to work just like them. They don't want it to be automatically you get to stay home because they associate staying home with, having it easy, having the easy life. And but not realizing that it's crazy for both people to work unless, both are making like amazing amounts of money, because the money gets eaten away with childcare and stuff like that. But obviously, it's not just about that either. It's about that ability, the joy of staying home and being able to be with your child all the time. I mean, that's worth a lot. And with some people, there may be this sense of conflict. I mean, that Five of Wands is about conflict, where one person wants to do one thing and the other person is, they don't want that. And so it's like, butting up against each other. What's coming in? Oh, you know what I have to do, and this is important because I've kind of mixed the order here. We had a couple of cards. So the Queen of Wands, these are the spiritual messages, and they came out together. 2 cards. Queen of Wands, and this could be like a career woman even. And 2 of Swords, which can be a, what do they call that, at a crossroads? Kind of a decision that needs to be made. But you see the blindfold, so the person may not really feel this sense of reality about it. They may be not seeing things that they need to see. And so these, as both of these cards representing a spiritual perspective of it, it could be that you are torn. I mean, I didn't even kind of frame it like that. I mean, maybe it's a totally different situation. Maybe you do want to be the one who has a career, and you feel like you're not quote unquote allowed to, or you're being kept in that position. And so you're deciding whether or not you should take a stand, and obviously the ultimate stand is leaving altogether. But I think too, that 2 of Swords is like being at loggerheads with somebody. maybe it's even within yourself of wanting to have a career, wanting to be, it's like both of these are totally different. Queen of Pentacles, this is associated with home, and Queen of Wands with career. So maybe that's within yourself, but also maybe with the partner too. And there's like, it's not really, neither one of you can feel comfortable with the decision, maybe on some level. And so what's coming in is Eight of Wands, and this is a card of like sudden activity and a lot of movement. I think that's the best way of putting it. And this can feel very freeing, because if you've been in this position, you may be like, oh gosh, when is this going to ever break? Is this, you know, who's going to be the one to give in to the other? And you may decide, I mean, this may not even be anything where you're going with another person perhaps, but you know what, it is a possibility that there is an air sign person, and this would be a, because I'm getting several of these, like Gemini, and I just did Geminis, and I got something that suggested Leo. So I'm thinking that that might be, some of you are dealing with a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius, which is your opposite sign. And actually in that reading, that person was waiting for someone to leave their partner. So I mean, that might be where some of the conflict is on your end, that you have promised that you're leaving and you haven't done so. And that might be that death card, that you know that you need to leave, but you have a hard time doing so. But the Eight of Wands is like a breath of fresh air. It's the sense of movement, and when there has been stagnation, you may be talking to somebody back and forth very excitedly and making plans, maybe travel plans. And this is a card of coming in, and this is about deciding of whether or not to stay where you are or go. And so there is a lot of this kind of indecision for some reason. And then we have here, which I thought was very interesting, the outcome, which I had to get another card, the Five of Swords. Now, this is something that, going through all these different cards, I see now something different. You see there's people in the background. Now, in one sense, this could mean, you see that there's some swords on the ground. So this person has picked up additional swords, and as part of the duel, but actually there's more people involved. It could be like an empty victory where, as I said before, you're fighting for something, and maybe it's somebody's in a marriage, and you're fighting for that person, or you're being sought after and being fought for. But even achieving your goal ends up as an empty victory, because you may find out, especially with that Gemini, that person is deceitful. And so you were fighting for something that wasn't worth it in the long run. And the Five of Swords can be, because swords can be about communication, and anything that is between you and another person. But with the number 5, there's a sense of instability, and so we associate dishonesty and slander and distortion with this. And that could be like you finding out, oh wow, this is what I was fighting for. I went through all of this for that. you know, I should have known better. I should have known that this was going to happen. So I picked an additional card. And this reminds me of that other reading. And I can't remember because sometimes I, as soon as I do the reading, I forget. And I don't know if this was, I got a nice card for Gemini 2 as one of the final cards. But I'm not sure if that was Gemini. But this is a card of an offer that is made. Now, this is an offer of love, and I mean, it's possible that it could be like a work-related offer, but because we're focusing on this, I'm assuming that this is like a romantic kind of a person. So I'm thinking if it's going to be an air sign, it would be a Libra type of a person. If it's a fellow fire sign, maybe an Aries, if not another Leo. I never see Leos together in relationships. I think there's only one Leo that can be involved in a relationship. And I'm kind of joking, but not really. So I don't know if Leo people would agree that you can't share the limelight with a fellow lion. I don't think I know any couples like that. Or even famous couples, except for Sean Penn and Madonna, and that didn't end well. So that's actually Exhibit A of what I'm talking about. But so that can be somebody who is a lot more sensitive. They're going to share an artistic interest in, you know, in the arts with you. So a lot of Leos are interested in creative pursuits. This person may be a singer-songwriter, a poet, you know, anything. I guess they could be an actor or something like that. But I see him as like a singer-songwriter type. I'd say that's the James Taylor card, because it reminds me of that sensitive soul who is you know, like a dyed-in-the-wool romantic person. And it could literally be a water sign. I mean, James Taylor is a Pisces, and the other water signs are Cancer, which is right adjacent to your sign of Leo, and Scorpio. Now, Scorpios are the ones that you tend to gravitate towards, and I told you that that's that person right there. Now, that might be an entirely different person. Unless this was somebody, I mean, it's possible that this person you overlooked, or you kind of were, you know, you kind of put aside because you were pursuing somebody else who turned out to be not really reliable. So that's interesting. So, but it's a nice contrast to that Five of Swords, you know, however that pans out for you, Leo. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you'd like a private reading, there's a link below this website, this video. My website is rainamoonastrology.com, and I'm sorry, I'm being very quiet because I'm trying to, I don't want somebody to hear me. So anyway, take care. Bye.